You'd be hard-pressed to find a more controversial figure, especially over the last 4 years, than Donald Trump, a polarizing figure to say the least. The former president of the United States made headlines almost every day, and he's considered by many to have been the worst president of all time. Although he's no longer the leader of the free world, we don't expect things to quiet down for him anytime soon. And as an ex-president, he must continue to follow some very strict rules and guidelines that make a normal life virtually impossible. In this video, we're going to walk you through some of these rules, from security measures to serious restrictions on his private life, and also why Donald Trump could actually face a prison sentence in the not-so-distant future. So for all this and more, stay tuned right here at Wonderlane. Let's start with a rule that seems incredibly harsh, but is just the cold reality for a former US president. It involves arguably one of the most intimate and difficult moments in a person's life, deciding how to conduct one's own funeral. While most people can only imagine their own funeral, including their family and closest friends, Donald Trump has to come to terms with the fact that whether he likes it or not, he will be laid to rest for all the world to see. This is a centuries-old tradition in the United States, and the formalities are regulated by the military. There are specific instructions as to how fast the hearse should travel and exactly how flowers should be placed at the grave. Protocol dictates that not only the president himself is involved in the planning, but also his family. In the case of Donald Trump, that means that his still very young son, Barron, had to participate in the preparation for his father's death. All still living ex-presidents will be present at his funeral, and many of them, such as Clinton, Bush, and Barack Obama, made it abundantly clear that they aren't big Trump fans, and this could make the eulogy process a bit tense. Let's continue with a rule that shows yet again that a president's private life becomes extremely limited once he's out of office. Even though Trump is more likely to be able to go about his daily affairs as he pleases, there is one thing that he will have to do without from now on. For the rest of his life, Trump can no longer be allowed to drive on public roads. Trump must call on the highly trained drivers of the Secret Service to make any and every trip. These drivers are specially trained to chauffeur presidents and are thus supposed to ensure that even ex-presidents are protected from attack at all times. For Donald Trump, however, this rule could become a bigger hindrance than it might have been for other ex-presidents. The billionaire, who is known to have made his fortune in real estate, is said to be a big car guy, and he owns an impressive fleet of luxury vehicles. Alas, he will never again be allowed to get behind the wheel. The next rule pertains to only two ex-presidents, Jimmy Carter and Donald Trump. It involves an issue of particular relevance, especially with everything that's going on in the world today, and that is healthcare. In the United States, any person who has worked for the government for more than 5 years gets lifetime coverage. Since Trump served a 4-year term and never worked for the government prior to winning the 2016 election, he will have to pay for his own health insurance. Given his estimated fortune of more than $3 billion, this won't be an issue though. The next rule concerns another activity that's part of normal life for almost everyone: buying a new smartphone. Although Donald Trump is no longer involved in the political happenings of the country, there is still a residual fear that he, as the former most powerful man in the world, will fall victim to espionage attacks by hackers or hostile states. For this reason, Trump is not allowed to walk into a store and buy a new phone without jumping through some serious hoops. He can only do so once he clears all the details with Secret Service, which will protect the smartphone against any and every attack, and thus assure that no sensitive information falls into foreign hands. Trump has been advised for years to get rid of his Android and switch to an iPhone secured by the Secret Service. The president wanted to keep the Android because it was easier for him to use, but a security advisor finally convinced him to make the change. Now we come to a rule that will completely change Donald, Melania, and Barron Trump's lives. Even though Trump is no longer president, he used to be, and things can't ever just go back to normal. The protocol for ex-presidents dictates that no matter where Trump and his family are, they must be protected by Secret Service agents. On vacation, on a hike, out to dinner with friends, the Trumps will never go anywhere ever again without a host of Secret Service agents. A life of spontaneity is no longer possible, as all visits and activities in public must be cleared by the Secret Service. Now we come to a rule that could be fatal, especially for Trump. This could not only destroy the rest of his life, but also create an unprecedented political situation. As an ex-president, he loses his immunity from legal proceedings. Trump will therefore have to answer for his public and private actions from here on out. He's said to have danced around the law during his time in office as well as during his time as an entrepreneur, and many accuse him, among other things, of evading taxes, passing intelligence information abroad, and even inciting the Capitol riots. If investigators and judges find more evidence to some of these accusations in the future, it is not unlikely that sooner or later, Trump will have some high-profile court cases on his hands, and it's a possibility that he does some prison time. So the loss of immunity is a rule that could have major implications for the future of Donald Trump. The next rule primarily affects the former president's future associates. As president, Trump received an unbelievable $100 million per year with which he could hire close to 400 people to his advisory staff. Even though Trump is no longer president, he, like many other ex-presidents, will likely continue to appear in public, speak, and remain politically active in some form. However, instead of $100 million a year, he now receives only $100,000 a year, which is enough for about one employee instead of 400. Even though Trump is a multi-billionaire, it's not likely that he will continue to invest millions of dollars into his political career. Even when he was still president and was demanding recounts, he did not use his own money for this, as he called on his supporters to donate money for this process. Now let's continue with a rule that is fairly straightforward, but that many fear Donald Trump will not follow. Any given former president steered U.S. policy for several years and also gained insight into a plethora of intelligence and military secrets. This information is to be kept from the public at all costs, and so ex-presidents are obligated to keep a tight lid on that stuff. However, Donald Trump is a wild card to say the least, and some fear that he could leak some highly sensitive information. If he does break this rule, it's highly likely that he'd be tried for treason. Let's wrap up with a rule for ex-presidents that could also be difficult for Trump to comply with. As a former president of the United States, you actually take on a representative role that is supposed to be politically neutral. This means that you're not supposed to interfere with or comment on the political decisions of the current president. If you're asking me, fat chance he follows this one. After all, he is famous for sharply attacking and insulting other politicians. The billionaire has also already announced that he will be back in some form, and there's already speculation about whether he will start his own political television station or even a new political movement altogether. Although the rule that an ex-president should not criticize current policies or politicians is not officially regulated in the Constitution, it's still considered extremely bad form. Think he cares, though? That's going to do it for our video profiling some of the very restrictive rules placed on former presidents and how they might apply to the ever unpredictable Donald Trump. Did you enjoy this video? Who or what would you like to see a video on next? Be sure to let us know in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to Wonderlane for more videos just like this every other day.